midget Mustang aircraft on a IO-240 Continental aircraft engine, air cooled, and I use it in the Sport Air Racing League. We race all over the country, probably 150-mile courses up to 450-mile courses, and it produces about 100 horsepower, but it goes 200 miles an hour.
So how do you race? What are your points like when you go out, and how does this work, your race?
They lay out a course between 5 and 10 turns. Some of the legs will be 30 miles long, some of them will be 3 or 4 miles long. And you have to figure your winds and your course and your turns, and they have people at each one of the turns to make sure you actually make the turn. Of course, that's backed up by your GPS as a rule. And you try to figure out whether you need to go high or low. And according to the wind, you get your best ground speed and hope you got enough gas to get done. And
so you actually fly out to these events and then fly back, is that correct?
That's right. You got to fly your race plane all the way out, and we'll start in South Dakota sometimes and fly back to Wisconsin, or a lot of races are in Texas or places like that. So yeah, it's not an easy guy for the guys in Georgia. You have to roll, but we have some around here too, so it's always enjoyable. It keeps you flying, keeps you working on your airplane.
So why do you choose to come over here and get your stuff welded by TC? Hey
man, well, me and TC go back. We met at a restaurant close to here back in the 90s, I guess, just eating breakfast off and on, and we have similar likes and on mechanical type things like that, and so. And the stuff that TC does is like magic anyway. I mean, this guy's he's the guru, he is the guru. And when I need something done that can't be done, I bring it down here. And this is ultra easy here for him. He'll do it much better on these round wells than I will. So I'll bring it down and let him do that. TIG welding. TIG welding.
What's that rod right there? What is that?
That is 304 stainless filter rod.
Okay.
I had a brace on another airplane, a stainless brace. I was holding a kind of bracing an exhaust pipe, and it broke. And I welded it back 3 times, and it broke 3 times. TC welded once, it never broke.
There is a number right there. Might be upside down. I can't see my glasses.
And then you cut that piece off right there before?
Well, no. I cut it in 2 because I don't like dealing with the real long stick of filler rod. So I just cut them in 2 to start off with. An object is to get it clean without wiping my number.
Yeah, you can't wipe it. Yeah, no.
Kind of defeat our purpose.
We're taking a trip to the airport.
Pretty much defeat our purpose, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're going to be laying down watching me do this.
So what are you cleaning that with?
Just lacquer thinner or acetone. Can't have material too clean. You cannot have it clean enough, but you can't have it too clean. I guarantee you that. So any kind of oil residue or anything like that, it's just best to have it off. Yeah. So what we're going to do is match up the 2 marks at a 90-degree, tack it, measure it with and then weld it from that point. You're going to have to hold it until I get it tacked, and then I can get a square.
Homemade square.
Man, that's a machinist square. What you talking about? You don't get any better than that.
gonna pull the whole power from the whole grid right here, man.
I guarantee it.
The neighbor over there is gonna want to know what's going on with his air conditioning.
Alright, you get that lined up and fill the square tube. But I gotta put heat to it, so
I know, I'm gonna get it up here. Yeah, you know, hey man, you're not gonna burn me very often.
and then once I tack it, we can
Yeah, we can move it around a little
Right.
bit, but yeah, that's where we want it, right there. And I'll try to get it centered right there. Alright, go ahead and hit it.
Oops,
Hang
sorry.
on. I done lost my tungsten. We gotta start all over again.
Messing with you.
I done lost my tungsten.
So what does a tungsten do?
It just carries your arc, the welding arc. That's what makes it weld. Right there. Made in China.
There you go. Quality.
And that's what it looks like. Which size I got in here, we'll see. That's it there. All right. All right, so that's your tungsten. That's pretty square right there, if it'll stay there. I'll put another tack, but that's just about as square as you're gonna get it. Let me get a tack on the opposite side.
You want the bag, sandbag,
My arm or my hand will hold it. Get them all this way.
Okay.
Before I weld it. I mean, welding's just time consuming.
Definitely be better what you're talking about. I'll do that
That's
next time.
just a stronger
Oh yeah.
marriage for the two materials.
You You have to machine that little groove out then, or?
Yeah. The hole, you just machine the hole out to this outside diameter, and then it slides in, and then it actually helps it.
That leg in there.
Right. It actually holds it square. And now we're having to eyeball it square.
Caveman.
You ready? Yeah. Yeah. You like it?
I like it.
Eyeball engineering.
I think it looks perfect. Well,
But see, you don't have nothing to go off on this side. If that was out way longer, you'd have a good square surface. That's pretty good.
that's pretty close, man. That'll be plenty good.
It's really close.
Yeah.
Put another tack.
What are you grinding, a fine point on there?
Uh-huh. Yep, real sharp point. Real sharp. Sharper the better.
Get it prepped to do the weld.
Yep.
You gonna weld inside and outside, or?
Well, it's not going to do much good to weld it on the inside. We might have to clean up our burrs on the after we get it welded. But probably just have to weld the outside, which is going to take a while to do.
I knew it was going to take some time.
We got it ready to weld, but it's going to take.
Do what?
We got it ready to weld, but it's
Oh,
going
I
to take.
know. I mean, this takes some time. I know.
It's a slow process.
I bet it won't take as long for you as it does me. And it'll look a lot better too.
I don't know about looks. That's a real thick flange and a real thin tubing.
So how do you weld it? Just a straight line? What do you do? Back and forth?
Well, since I've got it tacked up, I can start welding and rotate it around, and I don't have to weld this side to turn around and weld the other side because I got it tacked on all four corners. So I can actually start welding, and then I'll stop, relocate, start again, stop, relocate, until I get a complete circle.
But all in a straight line, basically. Right. No, yeah, right.
And that you can rotate it around. That really doesn't affect it. But you just got such thick material and such thin material, and you got to keep the heat on your thick material because you'll blow holes in the thin material very easy. Very easy.
Now you gotta let it cool off. You're gonna burn through the.
Yeah, you could, because there's gas coming. There's gas coming out of there, so you keep your pedal so it cools off your weld.
You don't have to resharpen that now, or.
No. Now if I touch this and the filler rod gets to this and touches the tungsten, it'll melt into the tungsten. So I've got to stop and clean it because you want to clean your tungsten clean. And it changes the color of your weld. You know when you dip it, because it just changes everything.
Gas helps it cool off.
And it gives it strength. It gives your weld strength too. The gas does. Instead of letting the air.
So what does the pedal do?
Controls your amperage. Controls your heat. How much heat you're putting out. Which is like a gas pedal. The harder you mash the pedal, the more power or more gas you're feeding something. Same way with TIG welding. The harder you mash the pedal, the higher the amperage goes.
I just ordered these. These were
Right.
handle bent. You ever heard of this outfit? It's reasonable. They were reasonable.
No, that's right.
Yeah, but they're stamped.
Yeah, they have inside manual benders. So.
And I'm never sure how they do that, but I'm going to tell you, I'm glad they do.
It's just like a die that goes up inside the pipe that's actually that diameter, and a lot of times it's got a real cone radius, and it pushes up in the pipe. So when the foot comes in to bend it to roll it, it just keeps the pipe
from collapsing.
right.
Yeah.
And it keeps it, because one side will stretch where this side gathers. So what that inside metal does is it keeps those equal.
It keeps it from puckering.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean,
it still stretches. That
yeah, it's
material's
gotta stretch.
thin.
It's gotta be
It's
thin.
thinner there than it is there.
And it's stacked up under here. Yeah. But, well, these are getting ready to go fast.
All right. I like that. I like that. You safety wire all that on too?
Not the exhaust nuts.
No.
But you'll know if they start leaking, they'll pop and crack, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Pull out the power.
And you do run a gasket? Copper
Yeah,
gasket?
yeah. No, it's stainless steel
Huh.
gasket. Yeah, yeah, very thin.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we got back from TC's. This is the number 4 exhaust stub that we're gonna put on here. And the reason we had to have it that way was so that it'll fit up under the cowling. And see if I can get that thing lined up. But that's basically what we're looking at. And we're gonna deflect away from the fuselage of the airplane a little bit. That's why our witness marks had to be right. And I'll probably cut off maybe an inch or 2 of this just to lighten it up. But it actually gives you some jet effect or propulsion by pointing the exhaust to the back. So that's the main direction of that. I think that's a 60-degree turn on that. I've had them 45 degrees, but I went a little bit farther this time. So, and this engine is a fuel injected engine. It's a Continental IO injected overhead valve 4-cylinder engine with factory fuel injection and on top. So I've had to mount. I've had to create some lift on the cowling to accommodate these intake tubes, and if the engine works out right, what I'll do is I'll cut this. This is the this used to be for the carburetor on the other engine. I'll cut this off and smooth that out and make, you know, fare that in to where it's, you know, less drag, and get that out of the way. The prop has to have, you know, you got to get prop clearance from your cowling. So ordered from Sabre Manufacturing a prop extension. This is a 4-inch extension, and it's all billet with these inserts in it. So rather than bolting the prop up right here, which would not work, we push it out farther and we'll bolt it up out here. And I'll have to modify this here to it'll have 6 bolts holding it to the prop flange. Well, that's going to interfere with my former one. I'll have to take this out here and create a little more room for that. While I was down at TC's, I picked up something out of his junk pile that he was laying out. And I'm going to take this air intake off. This is your fuel metering device where the air comes through for the intake. And I'll mount this here. I'll cut this off and get me a little bit of deflection on that air intake and get it out of the way of the cowling where it's going to touch right in there. And I might just actually make this into a ram air, actually, with a gate, where when I'm on the ground, I'll have the gate turned like this with the air filter on a stub, and I'll have filtered air. And then when I go in the air, I'll open that gate up, and it will close the air filter, and I'll re-aim this into the wind, into the air, and get air, a ram air effect. And in aviation, you pick up manifold pressure, which is your ability for that engine to build power. So I may try to do that with this piece since I've got it here, and I was looking around trying to find something the other day, but it won't be long. I'll crank this up, see if it's all going to work out. But,